Over the last few years, several of the top sales and marketing experts from around the world have called me up asking me one popular question. They want to know, Charlie, how do I shorten my sales cycle? Well, I can sum that up in 3 words. Consumption drives conversion. So after analyzing thousands of sales cycles, we discovered something interesting. So the data shows that 96% of all buying behavior happens before the prospect gets on the phone with you. But then after analyzing our clients' data and then that of our own, what you notice is that the difference between the buyers that purchase between 0 and 90 days and then those buyers that purchase between 90 days and 2 years from now, it came down to one thing: the amount of content that somebody consumed. And here's what we discovered. If you look at this chart here, and this becomes your conversion percentage, and this becomes the amount of content that somebody actually consumes, you're going to notice that buyers follow a particular trajectory that goes here. And there's a window over here. That ends up being this sweet spot. And inside of that sweet spot, that number is anywhere between 27 and 36. Between 27 and 36 different pieces of content that someone ultimately consumes before they become a buyer. Now, your odds of converting these people go way up after they've consumed a certain amount of material, which then gives us this rule. The goal is to warm the leads before you try to close them. So in the Predictable Profits operating system, we talk about setup having 3 main functions. It's how you create, capture, and nurture demand. All of those can be added inside of this consumption engine over here. So when we look at this consumption engine that's broken down into 4 main quadrants, our first quadrant is impressions. Impressions would include strategies such as retargeting. And we know from the laws of effective frequency that it takes roughly about 20 brand impressions from somebody to go, I don't know who you guys are, to now, I don't know what it is, but I want to do business with you. And that would be under impressions. In your next bucket of content, you would have what we would call your micro pieces of content. This is the type of things that you're going to do regularly, such as you're going to be posting on LinkedIn. You're going to want to do that 3 to 5 times per week. You may produce short social video snippets. This is where you're going to do and launch your email marketing strategy. Inside of here, you might have articles, case studies, all of that inside of your micro bucket. Then over here, we have our base content. And this is going to be your base content is going to surround itself on different pieces of pillar IP that you have. And those are going to be shorter videos. Those videos itself might be anywhere between 7 and 15-minute videos that you're going to drive people to then consume. And you're going to have roughly about 3 to 5 different pieces of base content. And then finally, you go from impressions to micro to base, and then you have your macro pieces of content. When you look at your macro pieces of content, that's going to include things like workshops that are generally about 60 minutes long, or webinars. And if you have a book, it would also include your book. So you might have maybe 1 core workshop in here. And that ultimately, this is what you would do to nurture that demand. So when you master this consumption engine, we've seen clients reduce their sales cycle all the way down from a year to within a 90-day window, or from 90 days all the way down to 28 days. Because remember, it is consumption that drives conversion. If you want to shorten your sales cycle, you need to have a consumption engine fueling your marketing efforts. And this can easily double your conversion rate. See, here's the coolest thing. When you launch your consumption drives conversion strategy, you go from pitching strangers who don't know who you are, a little bit skeptical. You go from competing on price and watching deals stall and these endless follow-ups to then you launch this strategy. Prospects become familiar with you. They consume your content. They trust your expertise. They show up to your sales call. They're ready to buy, not browse. So if you want to see exactly where your prospects are dropping off in your buyer's journey. And what you can do about it, take our predictable profits business diagnostic. So what we'll do is we'll show you which phase you're currently operating in, the most important step that you need to take next to move your business over to that next level, and what you need to do to start closing warmer leads this week. So check out the link below or go to the domain on the screen.